This is Tactical Knight here, and I'm basically here to do a live commentary with actual gameplay footage, not replay or anything else. Mostly because I have certain topics to talk about in regards to this game and why I'm so heavily invested in it. And one of the reasons why is because, well, for starters, these gacha games eat up a lot of goddamn battery power, and their game files are unbelievably large. And for somebody like me that constantly travels all the time, I don't exactly have access to electricity like I should. And not only that, I spend a lot of time outdoors. So I don't spend a lot of time indoors in some, cushy air conditioned office. I'm basically sweating my balls off, basically doing physical labor. Now, for those of you that do not know, if you're wondering why I'm using certain cards or decks that are not the best or whatever stupid dumbass meta, it's most because I'm basically grinding for the card masteries. So you can see right here, I already have pretty much all the best cards already mastered for the longest time. And honestly, they should have done this since day one when this game was released. It only took them about 6 years to introduce card masteries. That is unbelievably dumb as hell. That was in 2016. Right now we're in 2024. Card masteries was not introduced until like 2 or 3 years, prior. Like 2022, 2021, somewhere around there. And that's unbelievably dumb as fucking hell. And for those who that also do not know, this is the highest card mastery you can get, but yet these have no card masteries. They only have 1 or 2, and some of them are still stuck with certain card masteries where you cannot go any higher than purple, which again, really fucking retarded. And like I said earlier before, it's hard for me to be invested in most other games. And I said I used to be a huge PC gamer in the past. And the reason why I never really did a lot of mobile games is because cell phones were still in their infancy. And it's hard to do video footage when your battery basically gets, gobbled up real fast. And like I said before, I'm not just one person with one cell phone. In fact, I have 3 cell phones, 3 tablets, and one of my cell phones is a Samsung Z Fold 6. So again, I'm not a cheapskate and I'm not using low-end cell phones. It's because someone like me who works a lot, I can only do so much. And like I said, I just don't play PC games like I used to, mostly because PC gaming has really fallen off. And the reason why PC gaming has completely fallen off is because I can no longer take anyone or any game company seriously, because the competition crisis is very, very real. Game companies do not know how to make games anymore. They have forgotten how to make an actual game. They have to be taught how to make a game. And no game company actually does anything innovative and hasn't done anything innovative in the last 12 to 14 years. And the reason I'm saying that is because I used to be a huge esports player, but again, esports is fake and gay. It's gayer than boxing, gayer than UFC, it's gayer than the gay parades. Alright? And because of that very reason, I refuse to participate or even support a game company that basically outright hates anyone and everyone that is basically right-wing. Because like I said earlier before, I have no respect for game companies when they keep pushing this, this gay agenda from Blackrock, Blackstone, Black Cube, whatever. Vanguard, or the name of these stupid companies that nobody likes. And like I said, it's getting harder and harder to support anyone and everyone when every game is basically just absolute garbage. And it's just so tiresome because you keep seeing the same. For someone like me who has played like 1,000 game titles, you since like the Nintendo, since the Atari, since the Commodore 64, you see obvious patterns, alright? And when you see certain obvious patterns, you basically see the trends and patterns in games, because it has not changed. The graphics has changed, but the actual gameplay has not. and you keep seeing the same repetitive patterns, or game companies refuse for example, like the video game crash that happened decades ago. You basically cannot take any game company seriously because they outright have forgotten the basic concepts and economics of video games, and that is to entertain. And if you cannot entertain your customers, aka your consumers, whatever shit they want to use, you basically have forgotten how to make a game. Just like people, like car companies like Tesla, they say they make electric vehicles, but you actually got to make a vehicle first and then you make it electric. If you are making a vehicle that can't even be driven, that I can't even own, you have forgotten what it means to own a vehicle. It's no different than owning a horse. It's considered your property. And if you're telling me that I'm not allowed to own my own property, well, you obviously have forgotten how to be a company. Which is exactly the reason why nobody wants to take anyone or any of these companies seriously, and they should not be taken with any kind of seriousness, period. And it's the same with game companies themselves. They have forgotten how to make games. There hasn't been a single game worthy of my money for the longest time. And at this point, I'd rather just pirate a game outright instead of actually paying for a game, even on Steam. Because there's been just so many bad games that are not even worth even keeping in my collection, because I actually will be having buyer's remorse on some of these games that are absolute dog shit, and it's an absolute embarrassment to even have them in my collection. I would rather have Honey Pop on my game Steam library on my profile than some of these games that I've encountered, like Mercenary Kings, which I absolutely fucking regret ever fucking paying for. I mean, it's just so tiresome how there's just far too many games that have never even been breaking any kind of ground and have been doing the exact same thing, just as reskins. And there's no accountability. Game reviewers obviously can't be held responsible because they're just nothing but shills and outright sellouts. Because like I said, that's what whole Gamergate was about. It was about holding game journalists accountable. And of course, day one, we lost. Because in order to hold a game company responsible, you actually got to do a collective effort. Which of course, most people cannot just, should have just shut the fuck up and do as they're told. That's the secret sauce to everything. It's shut up, do as you're told. Shut up, do as you're told. That's it. That's the secret to victory. And most people cannot even follow basic directions. Even like on a goddamn roadway sign. So that's the reason why, like I said, why the video game has to collapse, it has to crash. Of course, it's not of any of my concern to have any sympathy for any of these game companies, game reviewers, game journalists, whatever. So, like I said, that's the reason why I've been having a huge fallout from those games, and I just keep playing the same games I'm already used to playing, like Clash Royale. Despite that I know that the game is rigged, that these matches are rigged, I still play them because there's still, I know what the pattern is. I know what to expect from these games. I know exactly what I'm paying for. I'm already so highly ranked up in this game that there isn't really much anything to do other than just grind. And the reason why I just mostly grind is mostly of a personal matter, that I can complete something, but I don't have to invest so many hours into it. And as long as, like I said, as long as I know what the deal is, and honestly, like I said, with Clash Royale, what pisses me off more than anything else is just the goddamn rigging. That's the thing that makes me really upset, is they deliberately throttle your attack speed. They change targets that are not supposed to be focused, even though they're directly in front of them. They constantly change where basically the drop placement rate. So in other words, when you place a card on the field, they will deliberately set it up where you're not allowed to fight back. And the worst part is the pay pigs are the absolute worst. So I know when I'm dealing with a pay pig where my attacks are being slowed down. And if my attacks are being slowed down right in the first few seconds of the game, that's how I know I'm dealing with a pay pig. And the thing is that game companies will never be held responsible for any kind of transparency because they don't have to legally. And the reason why they're not being held responsible legally is mostly due to the fact that, is that we will have to expect our government to hold them accountable. Is that gamers themselves need to hold these people accountable. But because gamers are so atomized, so effeminate, so weak, so stupid and gullible, like, that's the reason why none of this stuff works. Because I said, a society with convictions, with actual justice, with actual concepts, these game companies will be held responsible. Like, even Google is now allowing you to have negative reviews on this game. And because this game company is owned by Tencent, which is, again, a company with a huge bad reputation of manipulation, which is a Chinese-owned game company, these game companies are not being held responsible. It's not difficult, all right? But it's just that nobody's interested and nobody cares. And a country that's apathetic is a country that is weak and effeminate. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It doesn't matter if it's a glass of water, a glass of milk, freaking Coca-Cola, whatever. But if there's no accountability whatsoever, it basically means you're dealing with a weak society. A society that basically does not want to hold itself accountable for anything at all. And like I said earlier before, it's not difficult at all for just people just to follow basic directions. And it's the same thing when it comes to other methods of boycotting. The reason why people say boycotts don't work is because you don't work. You are not functioning correctly. You are not holding yourself responsible for your own actions. If you're not holding yourself accountable, like you're just you as an individual, then that means you are just as responsible as everybody else. But except for people like me, I'm the exception, not the rule. See, there you go. Not allowed to fight back. My attacks are not registering on time. Cards are simply getting killed off way too early. And it's being disguised as lag, which is not. This is not lag. This is just artificial lag. And you will see right here, it's always going to be a pay pig. Anytime you see donation, the lower the total donations, the more money they have put in the game. It's basically used as a type of how's the word for it that they use in accounting? A tally stick. The lower the donations, the more money they put in the game, and it actually means that they never actually played the game. They basically use mommy's stolen credit card to climb to the top. And like I said earlier before, if damage is not registering, if cards are too slow, if cards are not reacting like they should, that basically means Supercell is rigging the match to make sure you cannot win. In any match that takes longer than a minute and 30 seconds, you're guaranteed to lose. See that? Look at that. Didn't even register the damage of the battle ram. It made full contact. Didn't even register the damage. And there you have it. Like, this match is already doomed to fail. They're going to do the good old bait switch, like a little hidden lever, to make sure that you cannot fight back. Like, they'll give you the illusion that you're basically going to win, but they're mostly there just to waste your time. You're there as a sacrificial lamb to basically take a loss when you're not supposed to. Because you see, in actual video games, for those who don't remember, they used to use quarters for these games. I forgot the name of the one guy who does a world record. But the funny thing is that, like I said earlier before, you could literally use 1/4 to play up, like what this guy basically played up to like 250 levels of Pac-Man. And that's what it actually means to have skill. But modern games, of course, don't allow you to do that. So they put safety mechanisms to make sure you cannot fight back. It's just another classic bait and switch where they do not want you to fight back at all. And they want to make sure that, like I said before, you take a hit when you're not supposed to. See, I know a bait when I see it. That's why I act in a certain particular manner where I don't use certain cards at certain times, because I know what to expect. And all they're doing is just basically causing more pain and strife that doesn't need to exist. So in other words, they're basically wasting your time on purpose to basically eat up the time. And look at this. This match is already taking so goddamn long. It's almost going to be 3 minutes. Why is the wizard ignoring the cards in front? You see this? They changed trajectory. It changed his target to a different other card. Look at this. You see how like the target is changing? They're trying to give the dog shit players a second chance to fight back. Because as long as you pay money, you're given extra chances and opportunities even though you're not supposed to. There you go. Another chance. Another more time wasting. They're eating up more time on purpose. Oh, these matches are taking longer and longer and longer. Look at this. See this? They're allowing the dog shit player more and more time. This match has almost been almost over 4 fucking minutes, dude. How long does this match goddamn take? Because again, I have the watermark for the video. So this match took way too goddamn long. So like I said, this is exactly how I know I'm dealing with a pay pig, even when they lose. It's not just when, like, right there, 18 donations. What the fuck? He already has a level 15 deck, and he did not actually play the game. You see this? You see this right here. There's absolutely no way you could have gotten this amount of cards already upgraded unless you paid your way. All these cards are money cards. Like, these are cards that you pay money to unlock to the maximum potential. And most of these cards, like I said, are not possible because I didn't even get a chance to even upgrade them to the max until like 7 years later. That was like, and like I said, it's just absurd how even when I win or lose, it doesn't matter. I know when I'm dealing with a pay pig when the game is stalling as much as it possibly can to make sure I cannot fight back. That's how I know. They said in an actual match back before they started doing the whole full on rigging in the first year or two of the game. This game used to be way faster. It used to be unbelievably fast paced. Now it's running at half the game speed that was originally designed for it. And it's just so tiresome how every game company does this. Like any new game that comes out, Apex Legends, Overwatch, whatever, even Clash Royale, They deliberately have designed the game to be slower and slower and slower to cater to the dumbass garbage normies instead of the hardcore player base. But because the hardcore player base don't spend a lot of money, because again, skill is basically free. The only time that it costs is your time. And game companies cannot profit off of skilled players. They have to profit off of non-skilled players. And like I said earlier before, it's very tiresome how every game, like there's literal think tanks and research groups that dedicate to just basically forcing players to spend more time in the game, but it's not really time. It's basically trying to force you, not incentivize you, force you into putting money in the game instead of giving you a reason to put money into the game. Like even if Clash Royale didn't even have any cards where you had to buy, they will simply attach the rigging, the pay pig incentive to the cosmetics, and that's literally what Apex Legends did. Like Clash Royale, Apex Legends, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield, they have done the exact same thing. And like I said earlier before, Call of Duty is even the worst game company to do this kind of behavior, where these type of business practices are basically have become the absolute norm. And I always keep telling this to everyone, that this has become the absolute norm. There's no accountability, there's no oversight, and like I said before, game companies, of course, are not going to stop. This is the Atari game controversy all over again, this time with the internet. And this time the entire global world is now being associated and has become more connected, more financially connected, etc. See this? Not allowed to fight back. No matter what you do, I just cannot fight back. And we'll watch this. Here's another statistic. No clan. You see this right here? If you're not in a clan, you're not doing donations. If you're not doing donations, you're just using your mommy's credit card. And here we go. How are you at that level at all? It's not possible to be at that level without doing a bunch of donations, because you get XP from doing donations. What a surprise. Mommy's credit card. If you don't have 100,000 donations, you've been using money. And here's another one. Watch. All of these cards are not possible without dumping hundreds and thousands of dollars into this game. Not just hundreds, thousands of dollars. Somewhere on the upwards of maybe $40,000. And this is only to make it this far. This is why I always keep saying that we need to force game companies to display people spending the amount of money they have spent and attach it to their profile where everyone can see. That way we can basically call out pay pigs for what they are. Just pay pigs. Which means the entire purpose of playing a game is to actually play the fucking game. But because this guy, and here's even more concerning in regards to these type of pay pigs. Basically, Supercell, obviously through sheer nepotism, has people in their company that they basically give free microtransactions, and they're able to climb up the leaderboards because of sheer nepotism. It could be because of family members, it could be because of people in the company that they know each other. Sometimes any number, like just absolute shady business practices, and it's no different than like corrupt China, where basically the rich, powerful elite gain access that most players will not be able to gain access to that are not part of their inner circle. And to make matters worse, Supercell also got busted for using fake accounts, bots, because again, it's owned by Tencent. This didn't happen until after the Tencent company buyout. These accounts had impossible stats where it's literally not even mathematically possible to have the amount of cards or the amount of level or rank without spending not even like no matter amount of money that you have is even mathematically possible to allow you to climb. So they had unbelievably high stats of like 300 or even 60,000 donations, dude. And I'm like, that's not possible without the use of a bot. In other words, they're basically running bots to run fake matches with fake players, and they're literally preventing you from actually playing with actual human players. Here goes, my elixir's being throttled again. Can't fight back. There you go, there's the 1 minute 30-second mark already passed. Since the minute and 30-minute mark has already passed, it basically means that I'm going against a pay pig or a bot. One or the other. I even took screenshots of these accounts that I've been matched up against, and it is completely unreal how unbelievably high these numbers are. Which means it's not even humanly possible at all to get those type of stats. And like I said, for those of you that are wondering if you think I'm playing poorly, I'm not. I'm actually playing at the absolute most powerful best that I can, but the game will not allow me to fight back. That's what we call throttling. It basically means you're not allowed to fight back because the game deems it so. See? Can't fight back. Cat's not. Look at that. It took an extra 3 seconds. And there you go. Damage being reduced. Attack speed being reduced. Everything. There you go. Can't fight back. Not allowed to. And you're seeing all of these stats of these players. Watch. Here we go. Another pay pig. And there you go. So in other words, another pay pig that basically spent a lot of money at the store to buy a bunch of tokens. And that's how he got his donations up. It doesn't matter if you actually outright pay for the cards, because most people have no idea how the store actually works. You can outright buy the cards themselves. Look at these prices. You can actually buy the cards outright or pay for them in tokens. The little things that you see right here, those are called tokens. And tokens are basically exchanged with other players or against the merchant. And you basically receive cards through that method. And look right here. Now, for those of you who do not understand, there's actually an actual calculator. 2,000 gems. How much do you think 2,000 gems cost in actual money? Here you go. That's how much it cost for 2,000 gems. Almost $20. So for about $20, you get 2,000 gems. And by the way, that's pennies, dude. That's absolutely useless currency in exchange for the microtransaction currency. So you need at least, if you wanted to unlock every single card in the game, you would be paying about upwards of about $200,000. I'm not even goddamn joking. That's how rigged the game really is. And like I said before, even if you have all the cards unlocked, if you stop putting money in the game, they will start matching you up against other dogshit players. They will put you against players that basically have spent more money than you, more than 200,000. So there's like a cooldown effect. So if you do not put a certain amount of money in the game, they're going to consider you to be useless, of no use to them. And like I said before, they're going to basically throw you away. Because you're no longer considered profitable. That's the built-in in-game mechanic that's in this game. And most other game companies are doing the exact same type of horrible business practices. So like I said, you can see all my stats. This is 100% legit. I only spend maybe about $20 or $30 a year. That's at most. I mostly just go for, basically free fagging because I have no reason to put money into this game, and I only do it on a rare occasion just to unlock certain particular cards. Mostly because it's basically for like 11, $12, and I get to unlock a lot of cards or upgrade a lot of cards at certain special deals, then yes. But other than that, I really do not put out enough money in this game. And just to let you know, I basically already have like 60-70% of the cards unlocked, and I'm still not even remotely close to how much levels I need to level up. And they keep raising the level cap higher and higher and higher every goddamn 6 months to a year. And the Clash community is getting more and more pissed off, where they just outright just have no incentive to continue playing this game. Because again, the gameplay doesn't change, the level of the cards doesn't change the gameplay. It's about more and more grind. That's all it is. And you see right here, the game does not allow me to climb, because you saw right here, it does not allow me to climb because I'm refusing to put more money into the game. All I did was just pay for the pass, and that's it. And it's almost already going to be completely, have almost everything unlocked. But because I refuse to put more money into the game, because they're expecting me to spend at least $2,000 a goddamn month. Minimum. That's not even average. Minimum. Just so I can actually have the actual game experience I had in 2016. And look at right here on Trophy Road, nobody touches that. That is the most toxic game mode. I haven't touched this in years. And I have no incentive because it's even worse than Path of Legends. Path of Legends basically puts this little gold brick where you're not allowed to go down, but you're allowed to go up. But at the same time, if you don't put money in the game, you're not allowed to climb, but you're also not allowed to throw matches and go down. It's a safety mechanism to make sure that it's basically just a money ladder. That's all it is really. And Trophy Road was the original game mode, the original method of climbing up without having to pay for anything. But now there is no more safety net, which means you can infinitely go down, and you also lose access to cards. Like, they literally will put a wall to make sure you cannot unlock certain stuff. And you see how everything is attached to climbing. See? And look, somebody like me who already has a large majority of the cards already unlocked, it would take me an entire year to climb up if I were to play this game every single day. And that's because they're rigging the matches to make sure you cannot climb. The same exact method where they throttle, where they slow down the game, where their attacks are not landing, where you're like I said before, you're not getting certain card unlocks. You're not receiving certain cards from the freaking chests, all that stuff. And it's literally mathematically impossible to climb because they make sure that you have to put money in this game to climb. Basically, free fags, get out, So in other words, if you do not put money in this game, you will fall to the absolute bottom. Look right there. Look how much you have to climb up. And I'm just scrolling, dude. Look, scrolling. You literally have to pay money to climb. And it's literally not a skill ladder, it's a money ladder. And like I said before, these practices should be just outright illegal. I don't care if a game company goes bankrupt. I don't care if they shut down their fucking game. But because there's no responsibility, there's no accountability, none of this is going to happen. And like I said before, even if everyone decided not to put money into a certain particular game, the corruption in the gaming industry is so bad, they will literally get bailed out by taxpayer dollars. Yes, I'm not even joking, and this is not even a theory. This has already happened. Look at Concord and Dustborn. It is just completely like I said, look at Concord, that piece of shit game. They say that they lost a whole bunch of money. No, they didn't. Show me the receipts. So these games are basically allowed to be corrupt as much as they possibly can because there's a financial incentive and they have actual money safeguards to prevent them from failing. So in other words, too big to fail. And like I said before, I wish I was making this stuff up. And look right here at the leaderboards. All of these players are all pay pigs. You see this? Money, 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 money. They have not even unlocked most of the cards. They have not even done most of the card masteries. And yet they're allowed to climb as long as you got the money. There you go. 16,000 donations. That is abysmal. Because in longer for you, a free fag, if you want to climb, you have to do donations and trades. But if you have the money, you can just pay your way to the top. There you go. 791 donations. And here's another player, another pay pig. 286 donations. And here we go. Pay pig again. But basically use tokens. It doesn't matter what the excuse is. There you go. Very low donations. And here we go again. Very low donations. 6,000. So in other words, like I said, pay to win. So, like I said earlier before, this is why I can no longer take any of these game companies seriously. Because they're all exactly the same. Just pay your way to the top. And you don't actually use skill. That's why you cannot have... That's why esports is completely 100% fake. So... There you go, guys. Like I said, I'll try to make another video later in the future. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, I wish I could do like whatever dumbass watermarks, whatever, in regards to my videos, but I don't. Mostly because, again, I really just do not want to socialize with other players because I cannot get any other players to actually not just agree with me in reality, but agree with me factually. And most players, again, are just going to be pay pigs. They're just trolls and morons and idiots that I really do not even want to talk to, much less even acknowledge their existence. As if I'm not surrounded by crackheads on a daily basis, dealing with their nonsense. So, well, there you go, guys. Like I said, I'll make another video in the future. And like I said, you can just, like I said, run it as a commentary. So, bye.